The Taipingshan Forest Railway was constructed during the Japanese colonial period, primarily to transport timber harvested from the Taipingshan forest. The transportation system spanned approximately 68 kilometers, consisting of about 37 kilometers of flatland railway and 31 kilometers of mountainous tracks. The flatland railway, completed in 1924, ran from Tuchang along the Luodong River to Luodong, with a total of 10 stations. The mountain tracks included cableways, light railways, and forest operation branch lines. The Taipingshan timber transportation system began in the new Taipingshan area, utilizing the Baimi cableway to connect to the Baimi line, then the Bailing cableway to the Lontai line, and finally the Renzi cableway to the Renzi line, eventually reaching Tuchang. The route comprised 4 railway segments and 3 cableways, transporting timber in Taipingshan to Tuchang for storage, before moving it via flatland railway to Luodong. To facilitate timber collection, 3 forest operation branch lines were constructed to connect to the Taipingshan line, the Maoxing line, the Jianqing line, and the Sanqing line. Additionally, after the end of World War II, Taiwan utilized another system of cableways and railways to transport timber from Gulu to Luodong. The forestry resources of Taipingshan were first discovered in 1906 during police patrols in indigenous territories. The initial discovery occurred in the Silan Mountain area, which was inhabited by the resilient Atayal people. Given the unstable conditions in the indigenous territories, effective management was essential for forest resource development. After the Taiwan government general completed its indigenous management efforts in 1914, it dispatched Nakazato Masa and Yada Isok to survey the forest resources. In their report, they noted, "The forests along both sides of the Zhuishui River in Ilan are the finest on the island, holding immense exploitation value. Developing this region is an urgent necessity for enhancing national strength." Initially, the Taipingshan forestry resources were managed by the Alishan Operations Office. However, after the abundant resources were confirmed, management of the Taipingshan forest was transferred to the Forestry Bureau in 1915. Old Taipingshan was situated in what is now Jialua Mountain. Initially, the Forestry Bureau used the present-day Lontai as the starting point for development and began logging operations in the Jialua Mountain area, marking the commencement of Taipingshan's forestry development. Old Taipingshan, also known as the Mianao Mountain area, derives its name from the Atayal term Mianao, meaning dense forest. The region encompassed Taipingshan, Shizalu, Kamishiro Valley, Hugadai, Monozawa, Minamoto, Tsuganu, Zhuifan, Xiaoyue, Jianqing, Jialua Mountain, and Dawan River, among other locations. In 1916, the Yuanshan Log Pond was established in Desanjiu of Yuanshan Township, and the Forestry Bureau's Ilan branch office was also founded. Additionally, a Taipingshan branch office was set up in the forest area. To involve the Atayal people in forest surveying and forestry work, educational facilities were established within Atayal communities, with teachers drawn from the Taipingshan police force. In 1917, the Forestry Bureau began logging in Jialua Mountain, producing the first batch of approximately 600 koku of timber. In the early stages, logging, gathering, and transporting timber were all carried out manually using simple tools for cutting trees. Before the transportation system was established, wooden tracks or slides were laid along the slopes of the mountains, allowing timber to slide downhill following the terrain. The logs were then dragged to the Tuchang and floated downstream via the Luodong River. This method, known as the flume system, transported the logs to the Yuanshan Log Pond. The Luodong River was affected by typhoons, causing changes in its water flow and river channels, which reduced the efficiency of timber transportation via water flow. Additionally, the Taiwan Electric Power Company constructed a dam on the Luodong River for power generation, further impacting the flume system. Consequently, the Taiwan Electric Power Company funded the construction of a railway to replace the log flotation system and relocated the timber depot to Luodong. In 1918, the Jialua Mountain Shrine was established, and by 1921, the railway from Tuchang to Taipingshan was completed. The section from Taipingshan to Waizawai was leased from the Tainan Sugar Company, and the Ilan branch office was relocated to Luodong, renamed the Luodong branch office. In 1923, the new Luodong branch office was completed, located at what is now Zhengshan North Road in Luodong. In 1924, the railway from Waizawai to Julin was completed, making the flatland railway from Julin to Tuchang fully operational. The first steam logging machine arrived at Taipingshan. In 1925, Taipingshan Jinzhou Elementary School was established, and the use of cableways for timber transportation began. In 1926, the Forest Railway commenced passenger and freight services, with 10 stations along the route, including Julin, Waizawai, Dazhou, Wanfu, Sanqing, Taipingshan, Qingshui, Nyodo, Leshui, and Tuchang. During the old Taipingshan period, ground-level cableways were used for logging in Jialua Mountain. In 1925, aerial cableways were introduced for timber transport. In 1930, the Harita cableway system was first used in Kashino-Kihira. By 1935, the Renzi, Bailing, and Baimi cableways were completed. In 1937, the center of timber production shifted from Old Taipingshan to New Taipingshan, located in the upper reaches of the Lanyang River, now known as Taipingshan National Forest Recreation Area. This region primarily comprises the Nanhu Mountain Cordillera and Sanqing Mountain Cordillera, including areas such as Zhongjian, Lantai, Bailing, Baimi, Shangping, New Taipingshan, Wanshi, Shu, Shou, Jia, Xiaolin, and Luwei. During the New Taipingshan period, timber operations expanded following the completion of the Renzi, Bailing, and Baimi cableways. Additional forestry rail spur lines, such as the Maoxing, Jianqing, and Sanqing lines, were constructed to connect with the Taipingshan main line. The Maoxing line began exporting timber in 1937. In 1952, the Dolishan cableway was built to link with the Taipingshan main line. At that time, the Taipingshan Forestry Station housed nearly 3,000 employees and their families, effectively forming a mountain city. The Taipingshan timber transport system began in the Taipingshan forest area. Timber was first moved along the Taipingshan main line to Shangping, then transferred via the Baimi cableway to Baimi. From there, it was transported along the Baimi line to Bailing, connected to the Bailing cableway to Lantai, and further transported via the Lantai line to Zhongjian. It then linked with the Renzi cableway to Renzi, and finally reached Tuchang through the Renzi line. Using overhead steel cables to transport timber, the wheels of cableway cars were specially designed to move on ground rails. This allowed the cableway to connect directly with the railway, enabling timber harvested in the mountainous regions to be efficiently transported to Tuchang through the seamless integration of the cableway and railway systems. This design significantly reduced labor and resource costs. Although the Taipingshan Forest area was developed later than the Alishan Forest area, its timber production quickly caught up, making it one of Taiwan's most important sources of timber. After the war, despite extensive logging during the late Japanese colonial period, the Taipingshan Forest area still retained abundant forest resources. During the Japanese colonial period, timber transport occurred an average of 20 times per day, which increased to 30 to 35 times per day after the war, with a peak of 83 trips per day. The forest area during the Japanese period spanned approximately 26,000 hectares, yielding a total of 990,000 cubic meters of timber. However, the ancient trees over 1,000 years old, which were among the most valuable in the forest, were almost entirely logged during the Japanese colonial period. Logging operations in Daewanshan began during the latter years of World War II. In 1946, it was reclassified as the Daewanshan branch of the Taipingshan logging area, with logging activities gradually expanding to the Wangyang Mountain region, where Tsuifeng Lake is located. In 1960, it was reorganized into the Daewanshan logging area. The timber from the Tsuifeng Lake region belonged to the Dewanshan logging system and was independently transported to Luodong without using the Taipingshan Forest Railway. The Dewanshan logging system comprised 5 cableway segments: Guru Cableway, Anwu Cableway, Tsuifeng Cableway, Qingfeng Cableway, and Tsuifeng Lake Cableway. Vertical timber transport utilized cableways, while horizontal transport was accomplished by laying tracks for timber rail cars, colloquially known as bong-bong trains. By the 1970s, large-scale logging operations were nearing their end. In 1973, Taiping Elementary School was closed, and the Qingfeng line of the Dewanshan logging system connected with the Sanqing line of the Taipingshan logging system at Zhongxingang. This connection enabled direct timber transportation between the two systems. Following this integration, timber from regions above the Qingfeng line was transported via Taipingshan. In the final years of logging, the 3 primary operational railway branches were the Maoxing line, the Sanqing line, and the Qingfeng line, which was inherited from Dewanshan. The Jianqing line had ceased operations earlier. Dewanshan logging area was officially decommissioned in 1974, and the Tsuifeng Lake region was placed under the jurisdiction of the Taipingshan Forest Station. The processing of residual timber in the Tsuifeng Lake area involved thorough clearing of stumps, deadwood, and fallen logs. Modified 10-wheeled timber trucks transported the material along the Guru Forest Road to Luodong. Among Taiwan's logging areas, Dewanshan suffered the most extensive deforestation and destruction, contributing significantly more timber volume than both the old and new Taipingshan logging areas. However, it was ultimately forgotten, fading into oblivion. Archival records are challenging to locate, and only a handful of people in the Ilan region today still remember the Dewanshan forest area. Tuchang Station, completed in 1921, served as the timber transfer station for the Taipingshan forest area, marking the division between flatland and mountain railways. The old station has been preserved to this day, and the historic Zhenghua locomotive is on display here. Leshui Station, originally named Shuishui Station, was situated in the indigenous Leshui village, primarily inhabited by the Atayal people. It ceased operations in 1979 due to storm damage. The abandoned station's remains are still visible, with its roof level with the nearby roadway. Nyodo's name originates from its location in a narrow valley formed between the Shuishan and Central Mountain ranges. From this vantage point, distant peaks resemble 2 ox horns locking together. Nyodo Station has since been converted into a private residence. Qingshui Station, formerly known as Qingshui Lake Station, was located on the southern side of the confluence of Qingshui River and Lanyang River, named after the valley terrain. The area was once bustling due to the presence of Yuanshan power plant and forestry workers. The station has been completely dismantled. Tiansongpi Station, a classic Japanese-style structure, once handled both timber transport and passenger services. Today, the old station, turntable, and water tower are well preserved and have become popular tourist attractions. In 1921, Taiwan Electric Power Company built a dam on Lanyang River to provide power generation for the Tiansongpi power plant, which rendered timber transport via floating logs impossible. That same year, Taiden funded the construction of the railway from Tuchang to Tiansongpi. Sanqing Station, formerly known as Balisha Station, is now part of the Yayaluo Kima Park. A wooden waiting pavilion near the roadside remains the only surviving relic of the station. Wanfu Station, originally called Erwanwu, derived its name from the sugarcane industry during the Japanese colonial period, where approximately 25,000 sugarcane plants or 25,000 caddies of sugar were produced. The former station site now features a mock ticket counter, station sign, symbolic tracks, and platforms to commemorate its history. Dazhou Station, located beside Wufan Road, was once a wooden station building that was entirely dismantled after the trains ceased operations. In 2005, the Forestry Bureau reconstructed a station at the original site, featuring a ticket booth and other simulated facilities. Waizawai Station was near Waizawai Bridge, which was originally made of cypress and later rebuilt as a 13.5-kilometer concrete bridge crossing the Luodong River. The railway from Tiansongpi to Waizawai was leased from Tainan Sugar Company. The station no longer exists today. Julin Station was the terminus of the Flatland Railway. The station area once featured a 5.6-hectare log storage pond, offices, dormitories, dispatch tracks, and an inspection depot. Damaged by a storm, the station was demolished but rebuilt in 2004 to its original design. It is now part of the Luodong Forestry Culture Park. The concept of establishing a forest recreation area was proposed in 1977. In 1979, due to typhoon damage, the Luodong Forest Railway ceased operations and was replaced by forest roads and highway transportation. By 1981, all railways and cableways ceased operations. In 1982, forestry operations concluded and development of forest recreation began. The Taipingshan Forest Recreation Area officially opened to the public in 1983. In 1985, rafting activities between Renzi and Duawang River were formally launched, with facilities completed for these activities. The Sandy Waterfall Trail was completed in 1986, along with the Tsuifeng Lake Lodge. In 1987, restoration began on the Maoxing Line's Mountain Timber Transport Railway. In 1988, the Forestry Bureau established a feeding and observation site for Formosan macaques at Renzi. By 1991, the 3.2-kilometer railway section between Taipingshan and Dulishan was restored after 4 years of repairs, and the Bongbong train resumed operation. The Zhongjian Interpretation Station was inaugurated in 1997. In 2003, the trails for the Hemlock Forest, Maoxing, Tsuifeng Lake, Taiwan Beach, and Sandy Waterfall were completed. In 2004, the Pingyuan Nature Trail was also finished. By 2006, the Juchais and Tsuifeng Circular Mountain Trail were constructed, and the Taipingshan Cultural and Historical Museum opened to the public. A new ticketing station was introduced in 2007. In 2011, the new Duawang Bridge was completed and opened to traffic. In 2013, the Taiwan Beach Trail was reopened to the public. Taipingshan is one of the few forested areas in the world that produces cypress wood. Over a century ago, the Taipingshan Forest Railway played a vital role during the timber harvesting period. With the passage of time, this railway, after completing its mission of transporting timber, transformed into a historical landmark within the forest recreation area. Its naturally stunning landscape remains unchanged, enchanting travelers and leaving them reluctant to leave.